Jerry here, and today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to be letting a fellow person, actually, she's a fellow photographer, and let her sort of share her experience of going to French Polynesia. Now, I've known Kathleen for a few years, helped her plan going there and so forth, but I do want to give her the opportunity for her to share her experience of French Polynesia and maybe why she wants to go back again. Well, how you doing, Kathleen?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Jerry.
So let me ask you this. Have you seen too many places around the world? Because I know you've done a lot of traveling around, doing photography. You're going all over the place, taking pictures, and I've seen your photography, beautiful stuff. But for a photographer, is French Polynesia sort of a dream destination?
Absolutely. It always has been. French Polynesia for me goes back quite a few years since I was a little girl, actually growing up in Michigan. I'm in my 60s now, and I am an avid traveler and photographer. I live on the high plains of Colorado. And so growing up in Michigan, water, water, water is what I love. And married a cowboy who loves land. And so I get to go to this beautiful, I've always dreamed of French Polynesia. I traveled with Jesse in the military. We went to Hawaii, and Hawaii was beautiful. But I always dreamed of French Polynesia because my parents, growing up in Michigan, loved South Pacific. And we grew up that with all of our 8 kids, siblings, watching South Pacific every year, dreaming of that. And I decided when I was a little girl that I was going to go to South Pacific, and my dad being Navy. And so that was like a dream come true, going to French Polynesia. And I actually did a solo trip by myself because I was going to go with my sister, but she had to back out. So I was encouraged by Jerry, just go for it. And I'm so glad I did because I took all my equipment and kind of was brave and got on the flight from Denver to San Francisco to Papeete. Is that how you say it, Jerry?
Correct.
Got in there and I gave myself a gift of staying for 2 nights at the Hilton there in Tahiti, and to just get it acclimated before I got on the ship. And I'm so glad I did that. And then I gave myself another night after I
I
got.
always suggest people have a night or two there just to get themselves on French Polynesia time, not only
Mhm.
for your body, but
Yeah.
also that everything is done a little bit slower in French Polynesia. Go ahead.
Well, and
Go
also
ahead.
too, the thing about is being in kind of like I was able to walk all the way downtown to the downtown of the big market. So by the time I had a little bit of my fill with the city, that it was even more enjoyable to get onto the ship and just go way out to these smaller islands where you kind of felt like you'd done the city. And so, but also too, I got to know some people and made some connections, great connections in Tahiti on the island, and took a little tour, which was great. Got to know the hotel staff and people there, and so it was really important. And I got to do some gorgeous photography.
So
Um,
you did this as a single person, a single female.
mhm.
So you would not hesitate or telling people, even if they're single, that it's okay to go to French Polynesia.
I would definitely. I felt extremely safe, and it was one of the things that I thought about. I'm very cautious. I'm not a person that I've lived on my own, and I've been married for a long time too. I'm careful where I go. I don't think I would walk downtown by myself to at night. So I take it really cautious, and I do spend a little extra money to stay in a nice place where I feel safe. My safety is utmost importance. And I didn't feel like it just that I made a choice. Actually, I switched from a downtown hotel to the Hilton just because I felt a little safer, and
Mhm.
it was a little bit more quiet and secluded.
It's a good
Um,
property. Good property. Well, let me ask you this moving forward
mhm.
here a little bit. In general terms, we're talking about the Polynesian culture, the Polynesian people. Tell us a little bit of your take on Polynesia people and the culture of French Polynesia. Did you fall in love with them?
Absolutely. And Hawaiian people, when I'd gone there with my husband, beautiful people. But the French Polynesia, I will tell you that there was a certain like, there's a certain more innocence to them. Like it's more back to like real native. I grew up on a lot of near Indian reservations, and and I know Navajo. So there's when you have like Native American to that area, there is something very special to get to know them as like natives. They seemed very their music, whether they're older or younger. One thing about when I was on the before I got on the ship, I was able to go downtown and I walked around and I was actually to meet some of the elderly Tahitians, and they were just so warm and friendly, and they'd show me the beadwork they were working on, or else the flower arrangements, and I love that. And then the little kids, the little children, they're just so beautiful, and obviously they're so stunning. What I One thing that really stood out to me when I was down walking around the market, there's all these pearl shops, and Jerry's always told us about this. But there was this man, this Native American, and he walked out of one of the pearl shops. I wanted to photograph him so badly. I was just jumping up and down, but I didn't respectfully. But he had the markings of like, the tattoos all over his face. And I was just, that was like my first day there. And it's just like nothing you would see in Hawaii. This is like something like, the Maori or something like that. I was amazed by it. I mean, they were just there. And I came to learn while being on the ship, they told us how those tattoos mean a whole story of their life. It's a
There
very,
is. There's a whole story about it. And it's really part of their culture.
Mhm.
Most people have tattoos, some more than others, but they all pretty much have some tattoos. It doesn't matter if they're guys or girls or whatever,
No,
they have tattoos.
the women had them on their backs, and
Mhm.
I learned from the dancers on the ship that we were on. And I love going on a small ship. I knew I would only go on a small ship, and I knew that I wanted to go on a small ship to go to the outer islands to be able to photograph as much as I could and see as much as I could. They told me that they put these stories on their
Mhm.
bodies, like when they're 18 years old, to wish their life like that's what they want to be. So interesting. They're very open to sharing. A lot of them talk French, obviously, and I do speak a little bit of French and English, some of them, but very it was hard for me to kind of get that Tahitian language, though. I think it was a tough one.
It's interesting because we're talking about the tattoos and it sort of tells a story and so forth. And the same thing with because dancing is really big in French Polynesia for the
Hmm.
guys and the girls being in a troupe dancing. Their style of dancing is something very big, and they take it very seriously over there. But all the dances, when we see their moves and they're waving their arms, their hands, and moving a certain way, we go, "Isn't that beautiful?" But the fact is, they're telling a story,
Absolutely. Right.
and which is beautiful. And then
And they
you ask
encouraged
them,
me to get up and dance with them, the girls, and the Gauguins, and they just were. It was just so nice, and they're just so encouraging, and like because of I was by myself, it was a little bit. It could be a little odd at times, but it was almost like I had the most incredible experience because I was by myself. So they kind of like it was surprising. Like they took me under their wing and they were like, "Hey, come here," and they would say like, when there was something like to be picked, like a ticket. I got to be friends with several of them, and they would say, "Kathleen, come up on stage. We want you to pick the ticket." And so I think everybody was kind of like, "Who is this girl?" Like I said, come people. It was funny, Jerry. You probably run across this. Like, I think you're like a huge Instagrammer girl or something. I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. Yeah, I mean, everybody. I just kept them guessing, Jerry. Um,
hmm. So
I was
you experienced French Polynesia for your first time, and let's move on to a little bit. You did it
like,
by small ship. You did it by small ship,
sure.
and again, it's my way of telling people too. Is the best way to see French Polynesia is by small ship because you're going to be able to visit so many islands and see so many different things in a short period of time. You're only having to unpack once and pack back up to go home once. That's it. So give us your experience on cruising on a small ship in French Polynesia.
Well, Absolutely. I mean, that's the only way I would go. Even if I with a group, I'd say we gotta maybe do some of the inner island of, the main island, Tahiti, but getting on that ship and just getting away from seeing the sunrises, sunsets, sailing into, or cruising into these islands. And usually they would time it to where you got there at sunset or you got there at sunrise, and you always go up on the top. There's no way you're going to see that just taking a little airplane hop over or something like that. It was just you got to photograph it and see it and experience it. But the best part for me was, and I love being on the little ship because it was fun to just walk around and you felt like it was your little home. It's like I've never been a big 3,000 people on a ship. I've never gone on one and I don't have any interest. It's not for me. Um, so being like more of a little family on the ship,
Well, yeah. So
I
on a
love
small ship,
I
go
love
ahead.
the excursions. When I got on the little dinghy there, the Zodiac, or what do you call that? The tender. And then going and being with the local people, like we were with the sharks, little sharks, and we did the outrigger, and we had the different fish. You could do snorkeling. That to me was the real way to see French Polynesia, because those people who were on those tenders that took you on the excursions were French Polynesian, and you got to be cooked. You had the beautiful feast. I mean, it was like a dream every day.
So that's one of the things too on a small ship. It didn't take very long until many of the crew members that you're interacting with, they knew who you were. They knew you by name. They
Oh yeah,
had sort of an idea of what your preferences were. Would I be correct with that?
absolutely. In fact, you got time to when they would after they got done cooking, and then they would all play their instruments, or they would sit with you and talk with you. I mean, you really got the for me it's all about the cultural traveling, and you got to know these people. And in fact, I loved this one outrigger cruise so much that I signed up again the next day. We were there, or it was for the afternoon. I took it again because then we went on the same, because this person was so good on taking us to see the fish and the little sharks, and he just had an amazing cruise. I wanted to go back again. And you'd get to the shore, the deck, and they would wave at you if you've been on another, if you were on their cruise or their Jeep the day before. They'd say they'd remember your name. Sometimes it wasn't just me. I saw them waving to other people and how are you? What are you doing today? And it was amazing. And I don't think you would get that. You definitely wouldn't get that on a big ship.
So let me ask you this. Zipping around and you went pretty much through the Society Islands. Am I
Correct.
correct with that? Okay.
Hmm.
So out of all the Society Islands, which one called your name the loudest? Which
I
one drew you in?
um you know the more Moray, which is the one that's right next to the first one you said.
Morea. Morea.
I We stopped at that at the end, and I did a little photography, joined a little photography journey with another photographer from she was Tahitian. She's actually French, and she did this small group tour with us in this Jeep. That something about that island was so special. It was just seemed like local, and the kids were riding bikes, but I have to say Bora Bora was it blew me away because we did it was pouring raining. We got up the one morning, and everybody kind of bailed on the Jeep tour. But just this girl and I, she was from East Germany, and we ended up going on it, just us two. And we had this guide who grew up his whole life in Bora Bora, and he gave us the most incredible. And at parts it was downpour, and he took us to the top of the island, overlooking and to these little art galleries that were at the top. I really Bora Bora just, 'cause for me it was like that's the scene I saw in French Polynesia. I mean in in the movie when we grew up. Of course, it wasn't Bora Bora. Probably I don't know. Maybe then they maybe filmed in Hawaii, but that's the iconic that I saw. And for me, it was like fulfilling this like dream. It was just Bora Bora was everything I dreamt of. It was spectacular, and it's
Yeah.
hard to. put a favorite because I've thought about that question a lot because we went to the vanilla farm on the one island. And that to me was like fantastic. That whole little tour of seeing how vanilla is grown. Or we went and saw the moray eels. That was so it's really hard. But I Bora Bora, I guess if I had to pick one, because it was just we were there for 2 whole days and it was so iconic.
So I often tell people that a bad day in paradise is often better than most average days back home.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you were there on a rainy day, made the best of it, and still had a wonderful time, correct?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the thing is, it's almost like I got to see, I felt like I was part of a local, we were going down back roads. For me, that's like, and I know some people are just like, oh, I have to have it sunny. I have to have it beautiful. I guess I'm not that kind of person.
Well, it's interesting because a lot of people will go, I want to go to French Polynesia. It sounds like paradise. I want to go there when it's perfect weather, no rain, but I
Mm-hmm.
want to see the lush vegetation and the incredible waterfalls.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I always tell them, well, there's sort of a trade off here to have
Yeah.
those wonderful lush fauna and the big waterfalls coming down. It takes water. And where does water come from? It comes from rain. So it is part of being in French Polynesia. Sometimes it rains, but usually when it rains, usually, not always, but usually when it rains, the rain comes as fast as it leaves. And it'll be there for a short period of time, dries out, and then you enjoy your rest of the day and so forth. So you like
October
Bora
was
Bora.
when I went. October, and it was, and I guess it's just like towards the end of a little bit of, but I just thought it was beautiful. One thing about going at that time, and you could speak to that so much better about times, but I got really sunny days and I got like the rainy too. And so I kind of liked getting both.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of people now. You said you really sort of Bora Bora was sort of your perfect situation here, and it is. It's absolutely stunning. Mount Otumano there, seeing the multi-hued lagoon, all the colors and everything else, absolutely gorgeous. A lot of people, though it's lush and beautiful on Bora Bora, there's something about, let's say, well, you mentioned the island of Moorea, and a lot of people come back that I love the absolute drop dead gorgeous part of Bora Bora, but there was something that I fell in love with Moorea because a lot of people come back thinking they're going to French Polynesia to experience Bora Bora, but they come back falling in love with Moorea. Did you
Right.
have any of that type of feeling?
I did. And I just want to go back because we did that Jeep tour with the photographer woman, and she took us to the most unique spots and like local spots. And it just made me want to go back there and explore that area more. And a lot of people actually on the ship said that was their favorite. And I think it's just I don't know. I can't. I'm trying to think of a word why people liked it so much. I think it's just like very down to earth beauty. Like Bora Bora would be like the wow, but this was just more of like beautiful,
Yeah,
very
I agree.
nature. That's a Nate. Well, they're all nature, but that's a hard one.
Well, I've been to 10 different Polynesian islands in French Polynesia. And each one has its drawing card, and I
Mhm.
love all of them. I honestly love them all. But I
Yeah,
love them all differently for different reasons. Now, you got to experience, of course, the incredible beauty of Bora Bora, but then the luring part of Moorea. And when you went to Huahine, what did you do on Huahine or Wahine?
I think that's where we went to the vanilla farm. If
Okay,
I'd have to look at my pictures, but the vanilla farm is that where we saw the moray eels, the river.
okay. So,
Beautiful.
yeah, uh, that's where they are. Most people see the blue-eyed eels,
Oh yes.
the blue-eyed sacred eels, usually on Wahine. Though there are some on Moorea too. But the nice thing about Wahine, and you got to experience that too, it's non-touristy. There's no big resorts. It's a very lush island. It's much different. It's easy when you're dealing with the local Polynesian. It definitely has a different feel to it. And if you like a non-touristy island, Wahini's an excellent one to enjoy. Yeah.
And I love the sacred sites they brought us. I believe that was on Hueni. And what I have to really say, it popped into my head, why I like the different ones, how it's so unique, is because the guides that we had, they grew up on those individual islands. So it was like it was unique to the tour, and they were able to, except for the one that gave us the vanilla farm that came over from France on a ship, and she had a great story. But they're also interesting people, and then to have all this knowledge of these little islands, and it's like it's a little treasure. For me, I feel like totally fortunate that I get to see this beautiful islands, but plus have these natives that are, they're not just some tour guides. This is their livelihood. They
Absolutely.
Live it.
Yeah.
And
so as a photographer, I'm going to switch back to
Sure.
photography here. We're talking about sunrises and sunsets. There's not too many places in the world, to me, that have as fabulous as sunrises and sunsets as what is there that we can take pictures of as in French Polynesia. Excuse me. I have some wonderful pictures I've taken of sunsets or sunrises in French Polynesia. Again, as a fellow photographer, were you able to capture some of that natural beauty? I mean, it really is breathtaking looking at some of the sunrises and sunsets.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you're coming in, like in the morning or in the sunset, I remember. I have some beautiful photography of sunrises and sunsets, but you don't always get, because of the weather thing. You don't always get what you expect. You're gonna have this amazing sunrise at Bora Bora. It was overcast and it was cloudy, but I got these dramatic, clouds coming over it's not like in the brochure, you see the iconic green with the blue sky, a little puffy cloud. That's not my pictures of Bora Bora. But it was kind of fun to think, well, I'm going to go back and I'll get those. But this was kind of fun to get them like really moody, and I thought it was cool. But there was one particular image, I think probably one of my favorites, and you'll have to help me with the island. When they were coming in, they had the little white church on the side.
Okay. That's Taha.
Taha. And the light, we were coming in the morning, and I catch that. I'm all about light. I know Jerry is too, for photography. I caught that light just coming off the church. And it was like in the green hillside. That's probably my most incredible lit island or iconic picture that I took of I took several pictures of it, and it's just beautiful. Another one was we were on top of on the deck, and there was the crew was up there, because I got to know, when I say the crew, it was a crew for there was 2 photographers and 2 videographers on that ship, because they're handing off responsibility to each other. 2 of them were going to leave, and we all sat there and watched this play of the sunset, and we were coming into, it might have been it wasn't Bora Bora, but it was one of the others, and the waves were breaking, and it was just, that was memorable. It was like we were all just, even in them, and they had been on that ship for how long, they were just like in awe of those pictures, like of that scenery. It was like,
well, I'll tell you,
nothing you've ever seen.
If I had a dollar for every time people have taken pictures of that church, I would be a very wealthy man.
Well, I saw that church in your pictures before. That's the first time I ever knew of that church, was through your photographs, Jerry. And so
it's the background too, because you not only have the church there, but you have the Lee Taha Resort, and in the way background, 13, 14 miles away, you can see Bora Bora. And to me, you have all these different items. And as a photographer, you're looking for layers. You're looking to put things in thirds. I don't want to get too technical here. Yeah. But that particular location provides all of that.
And
Absolutely.
I can share with you eventually, on your site, which picture I'm talking about. But there's one, and in photographer, and I'm sure there's photographers on this podcast that you can take 10, but there's always one. It's like, that's the money shot, or that just captured it, the essence. And this particular shot was just because all I saw was the church and then all the green, the hillside. There was no other resort. There was no, and I think it was like Sunday morning. And I was just envisioning like all these Tahitians and they're just worshiping and clapping their hands. And I thought, oh, wouldn't that be fun to just get a little tender and go in there and just put my hands up and just be with the Tahitians?
Well, it's
Jerry.
interesting that you mentioned that because many times when we're in one of the islands on a Sunday, Zell and
Mhm.
I will virtually go to one of the churches, and it
Oh,
doesn't really matter if it's a Catholic or a
sure.
Protestant churches or whatever. The
Mhm.
issue is they all sing typically in their native Maori language, which
Yeah.
is absolutely
Oh,
beautiful to
beautiful.
listen to. So we'll usually sit towards the back of a
Mhm.
church, take in this beautiful singing, and then if we have more things to do on the island, we sneak out the back door
Yeah.
and head on down the road. But it is quite an experience. I'm not talking necessarily telling people to go have a religious experience, but who knows? People may want to do that as well. But you go there because you're hearing them sing in their native language, which is absolutely beautiful.
Well, and you're having a cultural experience.
Exactly.
I mean, and I did that when I was traveled through the Virgin Islands. I would go to the little churches and these beautiful churches and the light, and then the women. I loved their dresses, and a lot of times you see like that's what was nice is walking around. You see on a Sunday when I was walking around, I think it was, you see some of them going in with their best on their dresses and their headdresses, and that's really a fun experience. So
Well,
each island is so unique. I couldn't. I have just like a different experience of each island we stopped at. It was just so fun.
So, one of the things I always find myself doing, and especially, I've been going there now for what, 25 years,
Mhm.
every year, sometimes more than once a year. But one thing I always found myself doing is once I'm leaving French Polynesia, everyone gets a little sad. They're going off the ship.
Mhm.
They're going, oh, we're got to leave this beautiful setting. And then I get on the plane, and I'm going to tell you, on my way back on the plane, I'm usually already planning my next trip to French Polynesia. Did you have that moment?
Well, you know me, I'm always planning to get the airplane trip away from. Yes, I didn't get to go on your group because you guys were like there the week after or something. So of course I was planning that. As fun as this was, I'd like to experience this next time with Jerry's group, because I just, it was great going solo. I got to know all these people, but I'd like to go with a group next time. And so I definitely was doing that. In fact, I didn't have to get on a plane right away because I'm always notorious for sneaking in another night or two. So I took your advice, Jerry, and I stayed back at the hotel, but I went and did the huge buffet at the hotel down the road, the
The
famous.
Intercontinental?
Yes, and I did the lua, the dancing and the brunch. That's where I saw all the locals come with their best on. That was a great experience because not that I can eat that much food, but I got to see all the different dishes that they
Sure,
make.
sure.
So that was really fun, and I'm really glad that I did that. I didn't stay there. I just went there for the whole day, and you get to use, you can just relax on the beach and all
Yeah.
that there. So I got to see. So yes, definitely I was definitely planning what other islands I would like to come back to, and also planning some different what I want to photograph.
Hmm.
Definitely some
Well,
different things.
as a fellow photographer here,
Mhm.
I know we go there and we look for that light, we look at the composition, and we want to get it right in the camera. But one thing I've always found, because you cannot predict what you're going to run into on a daily basis,
Right.
that it be the weather or whatever. And so, as a photographer, what has made me a better photographer over the years is you have to shoot with what's available. And
Mhm.
so sometimes you're there, okay, the lighting's not perfect, but
Mhm.
I have to be more creative. I have to get certain things ruled out in layers. I have to be able to look at that. And maybe a bit of light comes in between the clouds and lights up something, and
Mhm.
it's only there for 10 seconds, and you go, boom, I got it. Okay. And so you look for those opportunities to do the best you can with what you've been served. And I know as
Well,
a
that's
photographer,
my iPhone was, I didn't take it when we went on the snorkeling trip because I didn't want to just leave it on the boat. And so, because I was always the one who had the big lenses and the equipment, and that because they would say, like, who are you shooting for? Are you, I'm like just a freelancer, I'm shooting for myself. But everybody, most people had little camera or a phone,
right,
and I had the always a big lens or something. But the iPhone is, or your Android, or I took some of my best images with my iPhone. So someone's just going to go and do some photography. Your phone just captures, they pick up all that light, how the
sure,
phones are.
sure.
And you get some of your most gorgeous pictures. Or just little video of like coming back from the tender. One of our Polynesian friends who always played for us with his little, what do you call it? The little guitar? The little, mm,
Ukulele?
yes, he played a very spiritual song all the way back, and I have it all recorded. And it was amazing. So, you can take that's what's so nice about your phone. You take these little video clips, and then you
Sure.
can play it when you come home. And also too, for me, it's a photographic journal. I remember all the places I went to. Like when I get off of this podcast, I want to go on and just look at all my pictures on my phone.
Mhm. So I'm going to wind this thing down here because
Okay.
we've been going over a half hour, which is fine. I enjoy doing that as
Yeah.
well. So, is there any last minute little things you want to share with everyone out there on this podcast of just memorable things to you, things you loved and you want to do again, and maybe that you would want to tell somebody, don't miss this. This is my experience. Take advantage and go yourself. I mean, is there something you just want to wind this thing up and just
Sure.
sort of share?
So when you go on a small ship like that, there's excursions, and as much as you wanted to just have one day to just, I think I'll just stay on the ship and just enjoy. I'm so glad that I pushed myself and went on every excursion. I did like almost like two a day, morning and then afternoon, and that was my way to stay on the little island. And then I'd have a few hours to myself and jump on another excursion because I can't think of one of the excursions I would have missed. I would have hated to miss because they were also individual. And then you get back on the ship. I would definitely go again by myself as very comfortable. Of course, be in photography. I know, Jerry, this is like sometimes just when you can just do shooting on your own and you don't have to wait for somebody, that's nice.
You
Um,
get tunnel vision
yeah,
as a photographer.
but also too, it was a way to get to talking to people,
Yeah.
and I passed photographs from my phone onto like vendors because they'd say like, "Oh, let me see," and I was able to share photographs to them, many that they said I'd love to have those pictures, and we did it right there. All the Wi-Fi was always great, excellent, except when we were on the ship, like passaging and stuff.
Sure.
But I would say go and and don't as I when I had somebody back out, I was like, should I go? And I'm so glad I did because I experienced it. I was felt very safe to go there. The people are very approachable. Like just getting to, I'm not talking about the people on the ship, just walking around. So much to see, so much art, and of course the black pearls and
There you go.
jewelry.
So you
Um,
did come back with a black pearl.
I did not.
You did not. That means you have to go back.
Well, that was my thing. It's like first of all, I didn't think I needed another piece of jewelry, but but I wanted to go and just research. I thought I'm going to go and research them a little bit more. I didn't know where to go to get them. I knew you guys are great at it, and I'll get one next time if I go on your trip because I
So
know
that
it's.
means that's a reason why you have to come back and go with us, because Zell always, one time during a trip, she'll grab everyone that wants to go pearl shopping, and she will take people to her favorite places, and
Mhm,
she knows how to shop for pearls. She
mhm,
knows what she's looking for. She knows the shop that
mhm.
typically have, as we say, a very fair value. She doesn't necessarily look for the least expensive one, but she walks away, as we say, with her little bag of marbles to bring home. So now
Well,
you
one
got to
thing I'm
come
a
back.
big advocate of is I will definitely go, like you guys, you and Zell are almost like locals now. I would definitely always encourage people to go with a group that has been there before, and obviously you've been there, 1,000 times, is it? No, just kidding. But that's why I would like to go see it through like your guys' eyes, because I know you guys will go to these other places that I haven't, I would have never maybe think of going. And you just feel safe, I mean, going on a group with a bunch of fun people. I mean, what a blessing. I mean, how fun to do this. I feel like French Polynesia was like the ultimate. I'll leave you with this, is that flying in. I mean, it was kind of like, that's a long airline trip from San Francisco all across. And
It's 8 hours.
the
8 hours.
Mhm. It was long, but we flew in to the island at sunset. And it just seemed like I had a 30 minutes of just sunset, sunset, sunset. And it was like I got a picture of it from the airplane. Probably the one most gorgeous sunset pictures, just from my phone. But seeing that coming in, it's almost like the plane timed that like perfectly. So, I mean, it was just built my excitement to say, wow. I mean, I'm
Well,
flying into Tahiti at the sunset, and they flew almost seemed like round the island and came up north. And so that was pretty spectacular. So I was pretty excited. Very easy to catch a little cab to my hotel for like $20. They'll take American, or they took, the Tahitian money. And it was very easy. Everything was very easy to convert the money. Everything is easy.
so
I
I'm going to wind this thing up here. But one thing I want to say here, plug, is when people go with Zell and myself, we sort of make sure that everyone maximizes uh, their trip. In other words, we want people not only to have a great time, we like point them in the right direction, what to do and what to see, and the things not to waste your time and money on. So that's one thing. Again, when you've been there 33 times, like we have, you have a pretty good idea what people should see and what things people shouldn't waste their time and money on. So again, we make sure everyone is going to have an incredible time, depending on what they in the back. We ask them questions on what things are important to you, and then again we make appropriate choices for them to consider. But Kathleen, thank you so much for joining
You're
me today.
so welcome. And with that, Jerry, you gave me a lot of tips what to see before I left, even though I wasn't on your group. So I thank you for that, because it was an incredible experience. Everybody who helped me to get there.
Did anyone say, "Hey, we know Jerry and Zell"?
Oh yes, the bartenders. In fact, I threw your name around a lot. I'm like, you guys know my friend Jerry? And they all, oh, Jerry, where is Jerry? I said, oh, he'll be here next week. Why did you come with Jerry? I'm like, well, long story.
Yeah, long
No,
story.
they all knew Jerry, and the vendors when I go out as a tender, and it was really the crew, and I think they just are really genuinely, really, they they're not afraid to just show their love. They're not guarded. I guess they're not guarded.
No, they're not. But again, I look at a lot of those people I've interacted with over the years. They almost become like extended family.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And definitely, and I tell you, the dancing is like nothing you've ever seen. It's just with the children all the way to the older people. It was spectacular. I'd say definitely go. I can't wait. We go on a trip with you and Sal. So,
Well, I have some planned coming up. Kathleen, again, thank you so much for joining
oh,
me
you're
today.
welcome.